Paul, Bama, thanks a lot for joining today. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. I think we all have heard about you a lot in your history perspective, being a chief risk officer, financial officer, and now pioneering into financial inclusion. So, my personal, honor to you as well. So thanks for being part of this forum, Bama.
Thank you, Salil. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to all of you for inviting us.
Good. I think if you would have heard the previous discussion, we were talking about reaching to a 5 trillion economy, and then I think Mr. Sharma also talked about 5 to 15 trillion. Okay, so this is one side of the story, and I personally believe India has that capacity to roll up from being where today to 5 to 15 actually. But there is a statistics which I'm going to share is almost 65% of the population of India is not part of financial services today. And I think whatever we are building today in our discussion next 20 minutes, this is the fundamental question, right? How do we bring this 65% of the population almost back to the financial services and especially availing the credit part of it? But before that, I really dive deep into, so Bama, I frankly want to understand from you, from your desk, from your office, when you look at the evolution happening in last 5-6 years, in the fintech scenario, which are, every day you will find there are fintechs coming into play, into payments, into lending, into, many other personal finances and so. Then you have incumbent players, they're also transforming, and there are large incumbent players and etc. And then there are financial institutes, which are NBFCs of the world today, right? From your lens, what's the evolution look like? What's your viewpoint there as an ecosystem getting developed?
No, thank you, Salil, I think, for posing that question. So our sense, as you kind of laid out, is that we've seen a significant growth and diversification in the business models of entities which are actually catering to the end customer. We started with a bunch of dedicated fintech platforms, if you can call it that, and then we've seen incumbents go the digital way. We've seen aggregators now offering financial services products as part of the platform. So in a sense, really going the embedded finance route. And the way we see it at Northern Arc, in a nutshell, is I would say let 1,000 flowers bloom. Which is basically to say that I think we need all of these and more, also referring back to some of the comments of the earlier panel, to say that we need a lot more origination capacity and different business models to actually touch these end customers and be able to serve them in a multitude of ways. And what we've seen is that, some products and some customer segments do require high touch brick and mortar approach, but we've seen increasing use of data and tech in those business models. If I look at the emerging customer segments in India, I would say the newly upwardly mobile population, they still continue to be fairly underserved by the mainstream financial institutions, and we've seen a crop of very interesting platforms which are emerging to serve their needs, and there's a need to kind of address those requirements as well. And from our perspective, just having a vantage view of this entire ecosystem, I think a lot of this evolution is going to be driven by partnerships and collaboration. And I liked what Mr. Raman said a lot about how he feels that the fintechs can really operate extremely well as part of the financial services ecosystem and in partnership with many other players. And that's the I would say the vision and the view that we have of the ecosystem as well.
Mama, thank you very much for giving this view. It also entails few things. I think if you go back pre-pandemic and the last 18 months, things have got accelerated fast. So I think the adoption of digital commerce, mobile-based applications, integrating an API perspective across the collaboration, I think it is fair to say that India has emerged probably a very resilient country in terms of moving the needle towards being a digital financial services. Now, one end we have masses coming into picture, which we are talking about. Other end there are niche players and institutes there, but our sophistication on the financial services to the masses has not gone up. Let me say, right? I mean, capital financing, working capital financing, I would call it, supply chain financing. There are some startups which have emerged, but largely this is an untapped opportunity, in fact. So all the incumbents I am talking to, large institutes, banking institutes, are looking at this SME as a sector to really provide the financial credits to them. At the same time, they don't have the reach, or let's say the cost of service to the masses exceeds the opportunity size we are looking at it. Now, this is catch-22 situation, Bama, right? And it's very important. You are at the center of it, right? Northern Arc as a capital, as a company, you're at the center of it. You're building that bridge across the board. My question to you is that, first of all, how do we mature and exploit this opportunity for the betterment of inclusion, at the same time for collaboration, partnership, and ecosystem? And how is Northern Arc playing an important role?
So I would say that, Shal, the way we've seen the ecosystem play out, our view of the financial services ecosystem is to say that one has to kind of look at some of these functions in a disaggregated way. So the first piece I would look at is, what do you look at as high quality origination? So whatever be the format, if it's an NBFC who's actually serving these end customers, a fintech platform who uses information, for instance, payments information, banking data to design products that are offered to them, or a trade platform that embeds financing solutions as part of their offerings to their customers. Whatever be the format of the partner who's actually touching the customer and providing the service, I think there is a high degree of specialization that can be brought in there, which is a strong factor that we see in a lot of the over 200 plus NBFCs and other fintech and platforms that we work with. The second piece, as we see, is efficient risk transmission, which we see is core to access to liquidity and access to capital efficiency, if I can say so, for these originators. And the third piece is finding large pools of capital for risk aggregation. And this is a view that I think at Northern Arc and at Dwara Research we've always shared, to say that it's important to build specialization in each of these areas. In a sense, I would say Northern Arc plays a very important role in terms of partnerships in each of these elements. We do believe that we will see more and more disaggregation and modularization of the financial services, and use of tech, use of data is increasing. I think we need to see the emergence of more platforms who are agnostic to these origination formats, which basically means that a greater depth to what we see by way of co-lending arrangements, where we've started seeing, larger banks, NBFCs, partnering with many of the smaller entities as well as with the fintech platforms, relying on their ability to design products which are suited to the end customer and reach the end customer, understand the risk, and kind of represent the origination and underwriting to the larger institution to then consume as part of their underwriting and risk processes. We need to see greater depth in risk transmission in terms of products such as securitization, risk participation guarantees, portfolio insurance, credit default swaps, which will encourage greater participation by investors and better price discovery. And I think last but not the least, we do expect risk aggregators to grow and diversify. By that, what I mean is that as some of these underlying sectors get more formalized and there's more information available on portfolio performance and there's more information available on the resilience of these institutions who are working with the end customers, we will see investors taking larger exposures to these sectors through partnerships as well. And I think a lot of the infrastructure that we've seen developing, be it UPI, be it the account aggregator infrastructure that's building up, should support these partnerships and the ability to deploy more capital towards this. Very, very early, but I think greater participation from individual investors in these markets has been an interesting nascent trend that we've seen as technology and digital channels have disrupted the traditional distribution models that we've seen. So to put it in a nutshell, I would say clearly these originators who touch the end customer have, to be more specialized, and they need to find the partnerships and the capital to spur them on. I think that's the key to kind of plumbing the whole ecosystem.
True. I think if you look at the liquidity scenario in the banking, they are highly liquid today. They don't know where to park, how to park, where to invest. And, I always think that, we are a country which was always a deposit country and a saving country. And after that, we are just realizing the fact. There are two buckets which has created Vama. I think one is the large institutes and imagine 3 years back, they were already NPAs and issues around it, right? And it's nothing to do with pandemic or no pandemic. But during the pandemic, the people have struggled. I think because, the lockdown issues and supply chain issues and so and so. Business were flourishing, but it's just that because they are SMEs, they are small, they don't have those capitals, they would have, survived for a long period of such kind of lockdowns and so. So they're still struggling there. Now, so the question, and which you very nicely said, the risk part of it, right? There is one thing called structured risk, another is called unstructured risk. And the needle has to move toward the unstructured risk so that we can work with the SMEs who are flourishing businesses and actually, give financial solutions to them. You are part of risk for many years, Bama. I think, you're the best person to answer. How is this needle shifting from structured to unstructured? And what should be your 1 or 2 recommendations to policy making?
So, Shalal, I think the way we've seen this move and the way we've seen the access explode is increasingly as the digital footprint of these customers is increasing. And quite frankly, I think that is kind of leapfrog access to credit in a more significant way. So if you look at, I would say 2-3 disruptions that we've seen. One is, of course, access to data such as the banking data, GST data, and so on, which is far more real. Access to their, basic business flows, which is not just today limited to banks who might be banking with them, but the fact that, even other platforms have access to this kind of data. It could be a fintech platform. I think the fact that there is more and more of a digital footprint of the customer has brought in more formalization, more access to credit. And that seems to be a virtuous cycle that's playing out. I think the second piece is basically embedded finance. So we see a lot of interesting solutions emerging on supply chain finance platforms, platforms that are offering short-term credit on the back of trade flows. Platforms such as Udaan, Off Business, and many others, which, are offering these as solutions to their clients. And I think on the consumer side, also seeing a lot of similar embedded finance and BNPL kind of products coming up with, I think, the expectation that this data will then feed into enough visibility of the customer to offer them other solutions. Now, I think our sense is that this is perhaps a disruption that should help, that should increase the access to credit for many of these smaller entities, and also reduce the cost of delivery of these, of these solutions. And frankly, from a risk perspective, I think then it starts providing a 360-degree view of the customer versus, a situation where you were largely looking at static information, perhaps in terms of, financials at a point in time, their assets at a point in time. Today, I think the kind of view that we have of these customers is over a period of time and across multiple dimensions, I think informs risk much better. Also, I think the ability to kind of look at these portfolios in an aggregate manner means that you're able to identify what sort of a risk and return deployment you're comfortable with, right? So, there are investors with very different views in terms of, how they want to price risk, how they want to kind of look at credit costs on the books. And today, I believe we have a spectrum of opportunities for such investors because the data view of these portfolios is much, much stronger. And the fact that this data is now building up over a period of time means that as an investor, you understand how portfolios perform through events, through multiple cycles in these underlying industries, and deploy capital accordingly. And I think that put together gives us a much more informed risk view of the ecosystem as well. Another key point I think Shama mentioned in her comments, I think the focus on building more robust collections infrastructure. The fact that a lot of payments today are digital, but there's still a lot of last mile touch required for collections. The strengthening of the credit bureau infrastructure, and I would say a stronger insolvency regime, I would say are key, underpinnings for all of this to evolve to a more vibrant capital markets system as well.
Baba, I think I got a holistic answer. Thank you for that. I think not many people would have analyzed this risk part of it in such a manner. So thanks for that, giving insights. You highlighted risk and then you highlighted data. And I think I agree with you. The fintechs and NBFCs and incumbents, if they start collaborating today, the whole financial services would be resetting the playbook. So for example, when you said collections, I think the platforms can enable the collections directly from the trade flows. If one A party is paying to a B party, A minus Y is already given to a banking institute basis on what the agreements are. And platform can actually enable that happening. I have seen this happening there. And this resetting of the playbook is very important for all of us, especially in the country like India, because we're a very diversified country. Our remotest areas, cultural issues, languages, we probably have to do all of this together. But when we go little bottom of the pyramid, right, we are looking at now microfinancing, people who are earning 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupee a month, provisional stores and kirana, generally we call it. Now, I haven't seen we have dented that market. Though SME market still we have dented. I think GST played an important role as well. But then these, less microfinancing, less than 3 lakh rupees of earning, etc. These people are yet need to become into the ecosystem. And that's the last part of our discussion, Mama. I think first I want to know what your view there, right? Why is that dent not happening today? Is there an issue there at that level? And second, what can we do to really provide the sophisticated financial services to them?
Very, very important question, Shalil, as we think about, filling the white spaces, I think in the financial services space. So few challenges that, we've seen, I would say that have acted as stoppers for that segment. I think one, while we've seen extensive adoption of bank accounts and, fairly, I would say extensive adoption of cashless disbursement mechanisms, including in sectors such as microfinance, what has still remained largely sort of offline is the actual business of the end customer. So the micro businesses still kind of operate with a significant amount of cash, and access to digital financial services or access to bank accounts on an operating basis still remains quite limited. And that has naturally fed into the fact that there is less data and digital footprint available on that customer, and the ability to kind of underwrite that customer is limited one. Second, to then follow through and say, how do you kind of push digital collections on that customer also then becomes a challenge, because they're not really using these channels in a very effective way. But over the last, I would say, year and a half, we've seen increasing adoption of digital modes for collections as well. So a lot of the microfinance institutions have started using bill payment systems, UPI and other such means to kind of, orchestrate digital collections from these customers. I believe that the missing middle is still the ability to kind of get a 360-degree digital view of the customer. That's the stopper, right? That's largely what we've seen. If we are able to, really kind of cast a net there and get a, I would say a much better ecosystem view of these customers, maybe through aggregators. For instance, if I look at, an agri supply chain, and if there's an aggregator who has a much better data view of the end customer, as an example, like, maybe an FPO, or if I look at a dairy aggregator as one example, and similar such aggregators across these underlying customer segments, those could be points where some of this data can be collected, where you can use that data for better underwriting, and leverage, channels such as UPI and others where information flows on their operations, which allows you to do more digital underwriting. I think that still, I would say, remains a holy grail in the business.
Excellent, Mama. I think time is always short. I would have continued the discussion with you, but I fully agree with you. I think when you said that Northern Arc provides the infrastructure, and then you also work on data layer. If you combine the infrastructure and data layer, I think what you're creating is called an interaction layer, which is a marketplace for many of this. Now, this marketplace can actually be very horizontal. It could be SME, it could be microfinancing, it could be institutions as well. Now, once this interaction starts happening on a marketplace perspective, then I think we are looking at that financial inclusion or a financial solutions to be provided to them in a, let me say, transparent and automated manner. That's the ask of the today. I think we have not reached there, but there is definitely a attempt, and India is far ahead in that attempt as relatively compared to other countries, I would say. But your insights on how to do that is very good, and I wish all the best to Northern Arc Capital as a team to drive that. I mean, even Shama and yourself has done a great job there. With this, thank you very much, Baba, to be with us today. It was, as usual, a pleasure, and I really liked your risk, part of it. I will take a recording of that, and I'll keep it safe there.
Thank you, Salil. Thank you for having us here.